Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our BIIC Founding Sponsor Spotlight. Today, we have with us Shannon Schuyler from PwC, who serves as the Chief Purpose and Inclusion Officer. Welcome, Shannon. We are so happy to have you here today and to speak with you.
Well, Amy, thank you so much. I'm really excited for the conversation.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. So, Shannon, can you just tell us about yourself and your role at PwC?
Absolutely. Well, I've been at PwC now for 26 years. And a lot, I know, wow, in a lot of different roles. But currently I serve as our overall steward for our purpose. And our purpose is to build trust in society and solve important problems. And obviously, one of the things that we find most critical happening in society today is around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So my role really takes these things and brings it together. And so, in fact, all the areas that fall under ESG, so all of our environmental, all of our social, all of our governance kind of falls underneath there. But such a significant part is, again, around inclusion that we wanted to make sure that that was part of the title as well. And so it's incredibly interesting work, working around the globe and really seeing the impact that the firm can have and the responsibility we have to have, given our size and given the success that we've had.
That's awesome. You said, just the work and your purpose. So that goes with our next question of, so what made PwC decide to become a founding sponsor of the Black Insurance Industry Collective?
Well, I think one of the things that we've really realized over the course of the last many years is coalitions make a difference. Single companies, single entities aren't going to be able to make the change that we frankly need based upon where society is and what significant challenges that we have. We have to come together. And when we really saw what this coalition was about, it was something that we felt that being a part of would help us to move to the next place that we need to get to. And so we were really excited to see others that were a part of it, really excited to see that an industry wanted to take this on. Competitors coming together saying, what can we do in order to work arm in arm to actually solve something instead of looking at it as something that was a competitive issue? It's really something that's a societal issue. And we found so much in that really resonated with who we are that we wanted to be a part of it.
That's awesome. So with being a part of BIIC now as one of our founding sponsors, how do you see the mission and the work of BIIC influencing the overall industry?
Well, it's been so interesting as you look to see what is going on in society. Insurance is one of those things that isn't very well known. As far as well known as what are the products, what are the services? There's a lot of skepticism, especially within the Black community, around insurance and the role it has to play. And is it just something that you pay into, and is it a cost, or is it something that can support you? And we really felt that when you look at what is happening, you look at a pandemic, you look at disasters that are out there, insurance is so critical to being able to be a lifeline for people. But in order for that to be the case, people have to understand how to use it. I think insurance companies have to understand the types of products and services that actually help underserved communities, which may or may not be different. They need to make sure that they're really looking at how do you educate people so that you can really stop the cycle that many have been a part of. And so what does that look like collectively? And how can people really look at the industry as taking people forward and not holding people back?
I loved your answer. So with that being said, does PwC currently have any internal initiatives that focus solely on Black executives or just Black talent in general?
We do. And so when you look across the board, now we've made very specific goals and looking at targets for what we want our population and representation of both our Black as well as our Latinx populations. And that's everything from investments that we've made in college, specifically at HBCUs and HSIs, in order to get more talent into our industry. And so really looking at it collectively across the board, looking at, we have special training programs the first 2 years that come in specifically for our Black and Latinx talent, as well as programs as we look at our partner pipeline and really leadership development. So we really want to make sure that the unwritten rules or the things that are happening throughout the course of our journey to be a senior leader is something that we're looking at sponsorship and mentorship in an elevated way, specifically for those groups, because we know we need to do better. We look across and where we are. And when we started to report our information through our transparency report 2 years ago, we held the mirror up and said, we would have expected ourselves to be much further than where we were, and we weren't. And in order to be better, you need to be very intentional. And with that comes the intentionality of understanding what is happening with somebody's journey and experience, and why is it not at parity with our white majority? And what does that look like? And where do we need to go in very surgically sometimes, others broadly, to really be able to drive change, to make sure that we create an environment where everybody has the opportunity to be successful?
Good. That is so good. And as an HBCU graduate, I'm excited to hear your answer. So with, just what you're doing with your Black executives, as well as, your Latinx population, what other DEI initiatives is PwC currently implementing internally or externally?
Well, we're looking really specifically at what can we do more around, as I said, the first 2 years of coming to the firm. That really sets the tone for what your success will be. And so we've just really gotten granular with what's happening. We do a lot of storytelling. We do a lot of candid conversations on various topics to get people to really talk about what's happening. We also believe that practice is incredibly important. So just like we have a badge for people to learn how to be more digitally upskilled, we have a badge, an inclusive mindset badge, so you can learn to be more inclusive. So you actually go through and you work with an avatar and you do virtual reality in order to be able to practice having an interaction with somebody that you might not have before, to understand different types of leadership patterns, to understand different types of communication, in order for people to be more comfortable with what that is, to make sure that they're not having unconscious bias sneak in. We also are very active in sharing our data. And so certainly externally through our transparency report, but internally, we're not going to walk away from saying this is who we are and how can we be better at every single pass. And so whether that's how people are promoted, how people are rated, how people get in the opportunity for new jobs. And then externally, we started many years ago now, CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion, where we now have over 2,200 CEOs that have signed up to really focus internally around how do you change your workplace so that it can be something that's more inclusive. And then also looks now externally. We have CEO Action for Racial Equity that focus specifically on policy change. So I never would have thought that our firm and others would be advocates going out and saying, we need to look at things like cameras on police officers. We need to look at the education system. We need to look at bail. We need to look at taxes and all of these different areas, because again, we're realizing that together as a coalition, we can make change and we have a very loud voice, where individually we weren't able to do that. So there's a lot that we're doing and certainly will continue, because we are a whole community of problem solvers. And this is one of those problems that's going to take a lot of us together to solve.
Well, thank you so much, Shannon, for taking the time to speak with us today. Once again, thank you all for joining us for our BIIC Founding Sponsors Spotlight. We were talking today with Shannon Schuyler, who is the Chief Purpose and Inclusion Officer from PwC. I definitely enjoyed our conversation, Shannon. Thank you so much. And you all stay tuned for our next Founding Sponsor Spotlight. Thank you.